house on it with goats and cattle in the yard and the porch full of goats, or using it to get out of the weather.
Were they your goats?
No.
Oh.
They were just rambling around.
It was open range then,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. It wasn't fenced in. It was open.
And that was you and your husband, who's
And my
Pappy
father
Kinler.
that stayed with me.
Or your father?
Yeah.
And your husband's name was Emile. Emile Kinler. Everybody called him Pappy.
And he worked in New Orleans, yes. He worked with the Gulf Shipping Company in New Orleans.
And
had been for years and years. In fact, he retired from there.
He was an accountant.
Yeah, he was
Gulf
retired when we came over here.
I see. But
he went maybe 2 days a week to the office, but I mean, it wasn't a full-time job.
How long did it take in those days? And how was the transportation?
Well, he went on a Greyhound bus, carted by Henry Keller's every morning.
Well, that was during the war.
I would drive him to Henry's and get him on the bus, and then I'd go back at night at 6 o'clock when the bus was coming back with commuters. There was a lot of commuters then.
Yeah.
People didn't use their cars like they do today.
I was going to say.
And you had good bus service, because you had a bus like at 6 something, and then that was all Greyhound. And then again at 7, you see, and then I think like 10 for later people. And then at night it would start at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, buses coming back.
Well, in those days, of course, it was during the war, so gasoline was rationed, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had to use public transportation.
Right. And so when did he retire?
I can't remember.
Well, you moved over in 47 then, permanently, but he wasn't retired then.
But he wasn't retired.
I see.
No,
so he had to make the commute every day.
He had to commute. I don't remember what year it was he really retired.
Okay. Well, you had how many children, and
2.
who are they?
Had 2 children. Mr. Kinler was married before and had 1 daughter. His wife died when that daughter was born. And he was a widower for 7 years before we married.
And you hadn't been married before?
No, that was my first marriage.
And what were the Elton was?
Elton was my first child.
Your first child,
and then Marlene.
Marlene. And in New Orleans during the war, you drove for the Red Cross.
Oh, I worked for Red Cross. I was a corporal. They gave you titles just like the Army, the Navy, or whatever. And I was in Motor Corps, and I was a corporal. And my job was to go and meet the dignitaries that had to come in to New Orleans for different occasions, dealing with Red Cross, dealing with the war, whatever, and take them wherever they had to go. In other words, I belonged to Motor Corps. You used their equipment, but you had to take a training course, you had to wear a uniform and everything.
But it was non-paid, you were a volunteer, right?
No money, all volunteer, but you bought your own clothing and whatever uniform you had to wear when you worked for the Red Cross.
And what other civic activities were you involved in the city?
The Garden Club. I started the Garden Club in Lakeview in 1960. I don't remember the date.
Yeah, date's not that important, but I mean, you were involved in civic activities in the city.
In New Orleans, it was the Garden Club I started with. And of course, always a PTA, because I had kids in school.
When did you get more actively involved in the political end?
When I moved over here.
Were you a Democrat then, or a Republican?
Other than the Red Cross, which was volunteer, you know, which is considered part Army or whatever. But when I got over here, that's when I got into the things that I felt that Lacombe needed help.
Okay, such as, give me some examples. What was it that you first saw about the area that you thought you could contribute
Well, when
to?
I first came over here, they didn't have motor corps like we had in New Orleans, but they did have Red Cross in Slidell. And I became a part of their activities for Red Cross and whatever they needed. And then from there, I don't know how I got mixed up with the other.
Well, you got involved with the PTA.
Yeah, I
right off the
joined
bat,
right off,
yeah.
helping the school. While my children didn't go here to this school,
What is this school?
they had to go to Slidell.
Well, they didn't go to a Lacombe school.
No,
Why
never
not?
did go. Well, they were past. They were in high school.
Oh, I see. So this school, when you came over,
They
there
were
was
in high school.
I see. So there was no high school in Lacombe
No,
in
no. No,
1947.
that was eighth grade.
I see.
That was it.
And there was the white and the colored, and weren't there 3 schools at the time? Do you remember?
I can't remember, Tom.
What's that one that was down Lake Road?
They went to the school where we have the museum there. And then
the Bayou Lacombe Junior High that exists
that
today
came
was
right
not.
after that.
I see.
Because we started the youth center, and we got the ground from the school board, and it was because I was working with the school board and the PTA or whatever you call it, and we met with the officials, and they gave us that piece of ground, which is now senior citizen.
And it was just a raw piece of ground at the time.
There was nothing there, and then we worked to accumulate enough money, and it was all volunteer labor, and the money was used for material only.
How did you get
no
the money?
No salaries, no nothing. It was the parents of the children that came to the youth center. It was through the youth center that we made contact with people, and we had kindergarten, which they didn't have at the school at all. No school around here. So we had kindergarten for the younger children. Teresa Powell was one of the teachers. And it would be like a half day for the kids. And that's what the youth center was for the children.
Up to what age?
And then we had it on Saturday. It was open in the 1 o'clock until maybe 7 or 8. Volunteer help. We had ping pong. We had shuffleboard. We had decks of cards and bridge tables. So the kids had some place to go. There was nothing. They couldn't go to Slidell. They couldn't drive. There was no activity for them except swimming in somebody's pool.
So this, in other words, this was to give the kids something
for
to
the
do
children
that
to
was
do
constructive.
on Saturdays and Sundays when they were not at school. And that's how we started to get a group together to get the youth center. And the fathers helped put up the building. We collected enough money from local people to buy the material. And as we got it, they put that cement floor down by the little crank concrete mixer.
A hand crank?
A hand concrete mixer. And that floor has never cracked. They have never repaired it. It's held up. And that's how it was put down in sections as they cranked it up.
Did you have any fundraising activities like bake sales or? Was it just strictly
no, just strictly
out of pocket?
Out of pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, evidently the amount of kids that went through there was substantial.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was operative up until, what, the mid-60s, or when did the youth center? It was from 1949 until, when, do you recall?
I can't remember the dates on that, Tom.
Okay, well, it probably was into the 70s, because I think it was still existing at the time that the bicentennial came along.
It must have been like 73 or something. I just don't. I
Well,
don't know if I got a book here. It might give me some dates.
Okay, well, you ran for, getting back to your involvement with the school itself, you ran for school board at one time.
Yeah.
When was that? In the
I see. I don't
okay,
remember.
in the 40s though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
I missed it about 57 votes.
57.
I was running against a man, and they never had a woman that was running for that job before. No politics, no women ever, to my knowledge. From the time I was here, it was just men. And for me to step out and say that I was running for the school board was a little unusual.
Who was it who won?
Pilgrim.
Pilgrim, was he?
I don't think he's here now, because I made that remark of him fighting to get it, and then he still isn't here, you know.
Yeah. And
He left, I don't know where he went or what. I never hear, I don't know.
Well, what did you, were you party affiliated at the time?
No. Gee, I can't remember what date I became a Republican.
Well, you basically started
Yeah, but
doing the
I meant
Republican
over
Party.
here.
Well, you were a Republican already when you moved here. That's the question.
Tom, I can't remember.
Okay.
1956, the bridge ceremony opening.
Right, and you were invited to be
One of
among
the officials or something I think they had somebody from each little town, and I represented Lacombe.
to be there at the opening of the
Officials,
causeway.
yeah.
And that was when, in August of
1956 of August. Let me see.
yeah.
James Burns of Covington was the attorney, district attorney. Landon was the treasurer.
Yeah. So
Warren Smith was the chairman of it.
but you've been a Republican then since the early 1940s or late 1930s.
Yeah.
But you were instrumental in establishing
Over
the
here.
Republican Party over here.
Over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what other civic activities were you involved in besides the
Here's the dedication of the Wrigley's, the ceremony.
what other civic activities
This
were
is
you
about in
involved in?
56.
Well, I don't need that. They can't
Okay.
tell that for the tape.
And this is for Nixon.
So
worked for
Gladys
Nixon.
Kinler was active all of
In
her life
political.
in politics, and took that in 1971.
Activities for the children, because that's what I really did over here.
Yeah. Well, you were
Started
involved with the
youth center
PTA and the youth center,
yeah.
and
And Red
the
Cross at
Lacombe
that
Civic
time.
League, which
Yeah.
is now the Senior Citizens, the
Yeah.
Lacombe Senior Citizens. So, so it was a natural extension of your involvement in civic and political and church activities,
Yeah.
that when the celebration of our nation's 200th birthday came around, tell me about that. What prompted you to take the bull by the horns and lead
Oh, I don't know,
Lacombe
Tom.
into a celebration of our
I
200th
don't know.
anniversary?
I just felt it was important and we needed to do something
So what did you do?
to
You
stir
wrote,
up the people.
okay, so you wrote Washington, or what was
No,
there? How did it come about?
Well, they had advertised in the paper about the celebration and people that could work or do things or help,
Mm-hmm.
and I volunteered. That's all.
And who did you volunteer to? That's what.
I don't know, Tom. I got
It was a national. It was a national effort.
Yeah,
so
it was. It was
so,
national.
you received
here.
a material on how to go about establishing a bicentennial?
Yeah. I had gotten stuff from Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if there's anything in here or not about that. It might be in another. This is more up to date.
Well, tell me now, the bicentennial was divided into 3 sections.
Yeah.
There was Horizon, Heritage, and Festival. Now,
Yeah.
can you...
Well, the food went under the booths and all for selling food went under the festival end.
Right. But what was Horizon? What did that
Well, I
entail?
think that was the history of Lacombe and what was established here and who was started.
Well, wouldn't that be Heritage?
Something else in another book.
Wait.
Let's see, shuffling through 3 stacks of scrapbooks, she worked and she talked of the finding 12 wooded acres of land with the pecan and oak trees, a small stream in the back, and an old house. Buying it for $2,900. Later, buying the front 4 acres to have a road put in. That road today is known as Shady Pine Road. Pine. They got Pond, P-O-N-D, but it was Pine, P-I-N-E. It's still called Shady Pine.
And you all put that in to get to your property?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, when...
Now, let's see. Emile commuted on a Greyhound bus every day to New Orleans to his accounting job. And I looked for a way to get involved of doing something to be a lasting mark in Lacombe. I began volunteering myself and my time to work for the causes of others back in 1930 in New Orleans when I joined the Red Cross. It didn't take long to rise to the rank of corporal and become a motor corps pool that involved traveling by train to read it.
Okay, so it was through you that the school was changed to Bayou Lacombe
That's
Elementary.
right.
What was it before that?
They called the 7th Ward.
7th Ward School.
Yeah, 7th
So,
Ward
yeah.
School.
So,
And I said, my goodness, why can't you be more realistic and figure something, a title or something that's nice, 7th Ward,
yeah. Well, now with the youth center, that was, you originally started out at the old cannery, which was an old log cabin, right? Or did you start
No.
immediately?
There was nothing there. There was no building there.
Yeah, but the old cannery, which was a log cabin up on...
no, that was in Lacombe.
In Lacombe,
on Main
yeah.
Street,
On Main
by
Street,
those
right.
nice big oak trees.
Right.
They had a little, we met there with the kids before we got the youth center built.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Y'all
We
used that
used
first
and
to
for the
organize.
kids. That's
To
right.
organize the
On
youth
Main
center
Street,
to
right
get it
where
going.
those 2 great big oaks that sit out there next to Marge's sister lives on that corner house. And there was the cannery. They used to, before I moved to Lacombe, the people had this little shack, and they had canning equipment there. And they'd raise their vegetables and all and bring it there, and then they'd use the canning machines to can it.
Was it built
There was a little,
as a cannery? I mean, it was built for that purpose?
well, it was only 2 rooms. There
Yeah.
was no bathroom, there was nothing,
It
you
was
know.
just a little log cabin
Shack,
that
yeah.
was built for people
Yeah,
that they
to
could
use,
can.
to come and bring their things there.
Yeah.
And you see, they had a flow well right there where the post office is, right across the street from Streck,
Yeah.
a flow well.
It's still there.
Yeah.
It
Well,
still
that's where
supplies
the
water.
people would use that to
Yeah.
clean their things, and they'd go there and can them, you see, in that little building. But we used that for the youth center.
So
In the beginning, they gave
Uh-huh.
us that for the kids to meet on Sundays.
and another thing that you did was organize a Bayou Women's Republican Club.
That's
That
right.
was in
I
the
didn't see it. I
60s.
didn't remember.
Yeah, in the 60s. So that was with when Barry Goldwater ran.
Yeah,
For
yeah, I
president.
worked for him, and that's when I got involved and started with
Yeah.
Goldwater.
And you got 7 other Democrats
To
To
go with me
to go
to
with you and
we
register
changed-
them.
we
as
changed
Republican.
our registration. And they said, don't tell me all of you all have moved and have a change of address when we walked in and from Lacombe. And they said, no, we want to change our registration. They nearly dropped dead because there wasn't any Republicans over here. That's right. You see, I had forgotten.
So
1968, the Republican affiliation, led by Kinler's election to the Louisiana State Central Committee, which I belong to.
okay. Well, getting back to the bicentennial, which was probably the high point of your involvement because it brought a lot of different people together.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't a party affiliation.
It wasn't a political thing.
Right. It was
no.
it was not political at all. It wasn't. It didn't have
They
anything
just kind
to
of
do.
believed in me a little bit and figured, well, I wouldn't lead them wrong.
Well, it didn't have anything to do with school, so it
No.
involved the whole community.
Yeah, it did.
And it was designed specifically to involve the whole community.
It was. That's why.
And
That's why we went after the school ground as public ground that we could use for the public,
right.
and that's how that got started.
Well,
So I don't know what you're looking for, but I have to read some of this to remind me what happened.
well, in August, I think it was August 5th of 1975, is when you got 43 people to attend a meeting to organize a Bayou Lacombe bicentennial
Yeah.
community.
Uh-huh.
It was you as chairman, Marion Perkins
That's right.
was co-chairman,
Uh-huh.
Gloria LaFrere
Uh-huh.
was recording secretary, and Leah Landry was corresponding secretary, and Mr. George Alwood was treasurer. So from that initial meeting then, you got things going in August by placing the books of American history, which were loaned by Robert Tracy, who was a bishop in the Lacombe Library
Yeah.
at the time. And then all through September and October, November, on into December, there were other activities such as producing a 16mm color film of bicentennial activities, which I don't guess you know what happened to that. Huh? I don't either.
No.
As I remember, I think Marion Perkins,
You think she
I
took it?
think she had it, yeah. And we had a paper drive, and
Now, what year that was?
this is 1975. And it was in October
73.
that we celebrated the centennial
It's 81.
of the Lacombe Post Office, because it was started in 1875.
You see, I don't have any clippings unless it's in one of the other books.
Well, I filmed that too. I
This is-
remember I made a film of those dedication
This is
ceremonies.
75.
And but it was at that time
That's the
that,
Lacombe Volunteer Department started.
yeah, that was in 1956.
75 I got here on the paper.
No, you Pappy Kinler and Archie Moran and Bill Corrett, I think
Yeah,
someone
right
else.
here. August the 27th, 1975.
No, that was an open house, but it was started in 1956.
Oh, you see,
With
I
the
don't
old
have the
Jeep.
clipping on it in here. This is my book.
Well, let's get
Okay.
back to the bicentennial.
Okay.
All right, we don't need that. It
Now-
was
now what year?
designated. No, this is 1975
Okay.
on the bicentennial. It was at that time that Lacombe was designated as a bicentennial community.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the commission was organized around that,
Yeah.
with the heritage, the horizon, and the festival.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the horizon was co-chaired by Shari McGee, and as well as Marion Perkins. Marion Perkins was co-chairman of the Bicentennial Commission with you,
Yeah.
but she was also co-chairman of the Horizon with
Uh-huh.
Shari McGee.
Now, what happened to Sharon McGee?
I don't know. That's is part of the missing,
Links.
yeah, that I'm trying to research by
Yeah.
talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and of course Shari McGee probably when Marion Perkins died, you know, that she was sick for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I imagine that, you know, there wasn't too much that was accomplished in that.
No, well, Marion was a pusher for that, you
Right.
see.
But what I'm trying to find out is what was the purpose, the mission of the Horizon. See, because I was Heritage Chairman,
Yeah.
and I know what Heritage is. That's our,
Yeah, looking up all
cultural,
the,
you know, our resources,
Yeah.
the museum,
Yeah,
our
that's right.
historical, our cultural
Mhm.
aspects, our environmental. I know all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But what I don't know and what I need to find out, and this is what I need to find out from you or Leah Landry or whomever else I can, is what was the purpose of the Horizon? Because the heritage was to be, and the Horizon was to be funded by the festival.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the first festival of the bicentennial in 1976, all that money was donated by the community organizations to the bicentennial to refurbish the old school building,
Mm-hmm.
which became the museum.
Yeah.
That was the whole
Yeah.
purpose
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And then in 77, when the Heritage started the Crab Festival, that was to fund the museum, a continuing, steady source of funds for the
Having money to
museum.
come in.
Right. So, you know, this is what we're trying to.
Maybe, Tom, refer back ancient recent history, or whatever you want to call it, title, of 76 and the proposals and the purpose of it and where the funds were to be used. Sort of give a background of this first, and said, and then from there, these other things materialized. You know, the museum and whatever. But there's a lost link.
Well, I thought you would have that. You see, because since you were the organizer of it, I would have, thought that it would be
Sure.
somewhere in your files. Now, Marion Perkins wouldn't have had that, would she?
I don't know.
See, in other words, you had to go through some sort of a process
Yeah.
in order to get the bicentennial established.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
like it says here, in August, we had a meeting of the people, August 4th, 1975. We attended a meeting to organize a bicentennial community.
Yeah.
That was not the commission. The commission was not organized until a little bit later, because the Lacombe, in October of 1975, Lacombe was designated as a bicentennial community by the Capital Economic Development District. And that's when they presented you with the official bicentennial flag and plaque. And that's when a scrapbook of pictures and newspaper articles and associated materials was started. So that's what's missing. I don't know where that scrapbook is. And
No. Everything I have here, I mean, I would have records of it. I didn't throw anything away if there was anything available.
well, it may be in the museum, and this is one thing I'll need to look up, because
Could be.
we did.
Look in the.
Were there bylaws?
Look in that locker, way to the back. We had put things storage. I know for the garden club, the homemakers, scrapbooks, the things that
It's like Fibber McGee's closet.
yeah,
Remember Fibber McGee?
yeah. They didn't know what to do with it, and they
So
didn't
you-
want to throw it away.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, let's put it in the museum." But maybe the scrapbook is in there.
That could be.
I don't know.
Did they have? Didn't the Bicentennial Commission have bylaws?
We
See,
must have.
yeah, all of that.
We bound to. It's bound to be in there. In
See,
that
it's
locker.
missing somewhere.
You looked in that locker?
No, I hadn't looked in that locker.
Well, it would be pushed way to the back, because all these clubs want their records kept. And we figured, well, there was no bank that you could put it in,
Yeah.
but maybe in the museum. So it might be there.
Oh no, don't destroy them. Okay, we're talking to Camille Voss. She was a member of the bicentennial activities back in 1976. This is January of 1995. Ms. Voss, give us a little background on you. You came from New Orleans, you moved over here, and tell us, a little bit about why you moved to Lacombe.
Well, first, when I retired, I decided to come to Lacombe. I thought this was a nice little town to rest.
You retired from what?
From D.H. Holmes for 23 years.
What did you do there?
I was a sales lady in the boys department on Canal Street for D.H. Holmes.
What was your maiden name?
My name was Camille Tramontana.
And you came to Lacombe and built a weekend place.
That's what it was, a weekend. And after a couple of years, we decided to retire and come over here. We retired 20 years ago. Came over here 20 years in January.
And so you were just a real newcomer
I was.
when the bicentennial came around. How did you get involved with?
Well, I met Peggy McCubbin, who was my neighbor across the street, and she got me involved with the Garden Club, the Homemakers, Senior Citizen Club. Anything that was open, she got me involved. And I helped every club in Lacombe. The
And
Men About Town, at the Garden Club, the Homemakers Club, the Fire Department, the VFW, and the Lions Club. And I'm still very active with them.
how old are you now?
I'm 80 years old. I'll be 81 years old in March.
So you were just a youngster back then, huh?
Yeah.
Well, so when you got involved with the bicentennial, what did you do specifically?
Well, I went to all the merchants and asked for prizes and games that we needed for the fair. All the liquor people in New Orleans, everybody that I asked did help support us. We had over about 50 or 60 some odd prizes that we had for the parade of prizes.
So you were the prize
I was
chairperson.
prize chairman, yes.
And this was only for the festival, no other
This was
activities?
just for the festival.
Um,
They also introduced me to you and told me that you were in charge. You see, it was our anniversary when we came over here that I spent the day with you with prizes.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
See, I don't even remember that.
You know, we had gone across the lake and we rushed back because we had to get together about the prize and see what we were going to do.
And you had 60 different
About
prizes?
60 different prizes.
And they were given out for what? Do you remember any of
Well,
them?
they were
and
given
what
out
they
for-
were given for?
They were given out for the parade of prizes. What was it? I think there were 5 chances for $1.
Oh, so it's mainly for raffles
For
rather
raffles,
than
yeah.
for any contest or
No,
anything
it was
like
just for
that?
raffles.
Oh, I
It was
see.
all the donations for raffles
Right.
to help raise money for the fair.
And were you operating through any of the clubs
On my
at
own.
that time? Okay.
On my own.
So you said that there was a booth. Who had the booth?
Well, the Garden Club had a booth. They also were selling jambalaya, but we also had we helped with everybody. The Garden Club and the homemakers were combined together at that time.
To sell jambalaya
To sell
at the
jambalaya.
first
The first fair.
July 4th
Fair.
festival. Yeah. And what happened to the proceeds from that?
Well, the Garden Club had their own money. They divided it between the Garden Club and the homemakers. But the money from the donation of prize was given to the Crab Festival.
Mhm. Didn't the homemakers in the Garden Club donate the money to the
I read that.
festival?
I don't remember what they did with that.
Yeah, everybody donated.
I imagine
their
everybody
proceeds.
donated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not to the Crab Festival, to the Bicentennial
Yeah.
Festival. The Crab Festival was not started
No.
until the following year,
That's right.
in '77. This was
76.
4th of July of 1976. Right.
I still have my costume. I also have one of the prizes that my husband won, one of our bottle of liquor.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to use that for one of your pictures in your book.
Were you involved in any of the other activities that the Bicentennial?
No, this was new. I had just moved over here. In fact, I came over here on weekends. And after we was here back and forth for a couple of years, we decided to move over here all together. When my husband took sick, we decided to come over.
Were you permanent resident at that time in '76?
No,
Oh, you were still just a weekend.
yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, so what made you went to the businesses in Lacombe?
In New Orleans. Also.
And New Orleans.
I was very active in New Orleans, and I went to all the business people in New Orleans. And now they knew me from the Wabi Club. I belonged to the Allied Beverages, and they donated a lot of liquor and prizes.
What other after the Bicentennial? What other things did you do
Well,
with the clubs here in Lacombe?
Well, I got involved with the Garden Club, and I was president at the Garden Club for a year. Then I got involved with the Homemakers Club, then with the also Holy Redeemer, Sacred Heart Church, the Fire Department, like I said, the VFW, the Lions Club, and the Men About Town. And I'm still very active with them.
In '77, in the first Crab Festival, were you involved with any activities there and
Just with
with
the
any of
senior,
the clubs?
no, just with the senior citizens, you know.
Well, that was,
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, the senior
You need to
citizen,
tell them those kind
senior
of
citizen
things.
club that involved in that.
And when was that?
Right after the fair.
So in 77,
So,
and what did y'all do?
well, we did a little bit of that. We had a booth in the fair every year. Senior citizen had a booth in the fair with sold hot dogs and chili and soft drinks.
And you raised money that went,
We went back into the senior citizen club.
what did y'all use that for?
Well, we have a lot of senior citizens who are retired, and a lot of people, we gave a little function, like Christmas and birthdays, and the money went back to the people. We made it, and we spent it for ourselves.
Well, when did the senior citizens stop making money?
It's been about 2 years now. We stopped because we weren't making any more money,
Yeah.
and they kept getting higher and higher with the booths, charging so much to get in. And at one time, you had to give them a breakdown of percentage you made, so really wasn't making enough to work for 3 days for nothing. Maybe work 3 days and maybe make $100 or so, but it really wasn't worth the hours that we put into it.
That's hard on
Senior
the
citizens,
elderly.
that's right. And we had to spend maybe 2 or 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
At that time, we had about 60 members, so we had to split our hours up between the 60 members. And a lot of us didn't drive at night, so it was really hard to get anybody to work at night. Now, Mr. Dino offered us, if we really wanted help, he would send the boys at night. He said, positively, I do not want the senior citizens out there at nighttime by themselves. I'll see the boys closed up, and I'll see the boys take you all home, which I think was very nice of him.
What Dino?
Ed Dino.
Ed Dino, the
Yes.
state
Yes,
representative?
he was very nice. Always helped us whenever we needed help.
Yeah, Ed Dino's a fine person. He's done a lot for the Lacombe community.
And for the senior citizens also.
Yeah.
He's also helped us a lot.
Right. So what is the status of the Senior Citizens Club in 95?
Well, we really just, whatever our dues, the money that we have, and we pay dues. We pay $10 a year. We pay out of that, we pay the fire department $125 a year. And whatever little money we have, it's divided between the members, like for dinner, Christmas dinner, maybe a birthday party. And that's where our money goes.
I see. So do you do any charitable functions?
Yes, we do.
Such as?
Well, whenever, every now and then, like Santa Claus on the bayou, different functions that come up, we do donate.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. But you don't have any outside source of funds
No,
other than your dues? I mean,
Dues.
that's it. Yeah.
I'm very active with the Council of Aging. I'm also active this slide in Lacombe. We meet there practically every month. I'm on the executive board, on the big board, and that it used to be every 3 months. Now we have that every month. So I see myself coming and going with meetings. Where you going today? My daughter always says there's another meeting.
Well, that's good that you keep active at
And I
80,
also
you know?
received an invitation. This is fighting for the council, for elderly,
An invitation from whom?
from Governor Edwards.
Oh,
For
Governor
March.
Edwards. Yeah, I've heard of him.
I think we all have. So it also says if I don't have a ride, they will see that I get a ride there.
Oh, that's nice.
So, I guess we'll have to hear a long sermon from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So maybe they'll serve us breakfast.
Oh, they'll probably serve you breakfast and
But this
lunch.
is really for senior citizens. That's what
Yeah.
it's for.
Go ahead, tell about that.
I also have a plaque from the men of our town for the work I have done with them.
What have you done for men?
Well, whenever they have any function going on, I sell tickets for them. I sell dinner tickets. I also get a group of people to come. We meet every year at Sacred Heart Church, and they give us a free dinner for all senior citizens. I also have
Pause.
from the VFW. I help them also sell tickets. Every time they see me, they want to know what I'm selling now. They call me the bag lady because I've always got a bag with selling something. I've also received a certificate from the fire department.